everyone. It's time for Jovan English Broadcast. I'm Teacher Lauren. Today, we're going to listen to a story called The Giant Turnip. Let's begin by learning some new words. Turnip, a round root vegetable with either white or cream-colored flesh that has edible leaves. Farmhouse, a house attached to a farm where the farmer lives. Seed, a small, round or oval object produced by a plant which, when planted, can create new plants. Thunder, the loud sound that comes from the sky during a thunderstorm. It usually follows lightning. Raindrop, a drop of rain. Sunbeam, a ray of light. Now that we've learned all these new words, are you ready? Once upon a time, there was an old man. He lived with his wife, his grandson, a little brown dog, a tiny white cat, and a sweet pink-nosed mouse in a grand old farmhouse. One day, he told his wife, "Dear wife, I'm going to plant a turnip seed. When it grows good and big, we'll have delicious turnip soup." The old man took the turnip seed and planted it in a patch of healthy soil. Every day, he came and watered it. When the lightning and thunder came, raindrops danced over the seed. And when the sun shone, the sunbeams kept it warm. "Grow big, my little seed," the old man said. Over time, a sprout popped out and grew bigger and bigger every day. One day, the old man knew it was time to make turnip soup. He said, "My dear wife, tonight we shall eat turnip soup." He went into the garden and reached down, took a hold of the turnip leaves, and began to pull. He pulled and pulled and pulled, but the turnip was stuck. He called out to his wife, "Dear wife, would you please come and help me pull the turnip?" So the wife held on to her husband, and he held on to the leaves, and together they pulled and pulled, but the turnip was still stuck. The farmer's wife called out to their grandson, "Dear grandson, would you come and help us pull out the turnip?" So the grandson held on to the grandma, who held on to the grandpa, who held on to the leaves, and they pulled and pulled, but the turnip was still stuck. So the grandson decided to call to the little brown dog, and it held on to the grandson, who held on to the grandma, who held on to the grandpa, who held on to the leaves. And they pulled and pulled and pulled, but still the turnip was stuck. Soon the little brown dog called the white cat, and it held on to the dog, which held on to the grandson, who held on to the grandma, who held on to the grandpa, who still held on to the leaves. And again they pulled and pulled and pulled, but still the turnip was stuck. Finally, the tiny white cat called to the sweet pink-nosed mouse, and the mouse held on to the cat, and the cat held on to the dog, and the dog held on to the grandson, and the grandson held on to his grandma, and the grandma held on to her husband, who finally held on to the leaves, and then they pulled and pulled and pulled. At last, the turnip fell on top of the grandpa, who fell on top of the grandma, who fell on top of her grandson, who fell on top of the dog, who fell on top of the cat, who fell on top of the poor mouse. It was a giant turnip. Then the old man stood up and dusted himself off. Then he helped everyone else get up. Finally, the grandpa carried the turnip into the kitchen. He chopped the turnip into little tiny pieces. He added herbs, spices, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and soon enough the turnip soup was ready. All of them, the grandpa, the grandma, the grandson, the dog, the cat, and the mouse, sat down to eat the turnip soup, and it was just as delicious as they expected. Remember, teamwork is very important. I hope you liked our story for today. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.